I don't mean to freak you all out, but is anybody breathing? Welcome to Hot Girl Stomps.
Hello, Gemma.
Hello again.
Hello again, Gemma. My goodness me, what a day we have had.
What a day.
Just to start the podcast off to how this is going to be for us. So Gemma and I, as those of you that would have listened to part 1 will know, we've done the Halloween special in 2 parts. Part 1 leading up to our investigation on Halloween night. Part 2 the following day, so the 1st of November, after we have been to our Galleries of Justice venue for a ghost hunt, record, get it edited throughout the day, get it out for a nice reasonable time on the 1st of November.
A reasonable hour.
I'd like to point out it is now 8 p.m. and we are recording. The reason for this is the ghosts said no.
Yeah.
We recorded about an hour and 45 minutes worth with editing requirements within.
Yeah,
but
around 2 o'clock this afternoon?
Less than that. I think I got here about midday, didn't I? And we finished about 2.
Yeah.
And we recorded and...
a whole hour and 45 minutes for you guys.
And it didn't record. Well, it recorded because I double-checked. Gemma saw me press the button, the whole shebang. For something happened and it just didn't.
The ghouls said
happen.
No.
The ghouls said no. I think it's a bit of a blessing in disguise.
I think so as well. Like
we were tired.
Yeah.
We'd got home. We got back to your house at like 4:30 a.m.
Yeah.
I got home about 4:45. We got up in the morning. Didn't get a chance because obviously purposefully we hadn't looked into like a lot of the ghost sightings to not mess with our own mind and whatnot. We'd looked into the history, which obviously you presented in part 1, but we wanted to go into this a little bit blind in a sense of not to be sort of guided by a psychological point of view with knowing pre.
Yeah.
So after the ghost hunt last night,
we purposefully didn't discuss it.
Yeah, we purposefully didn't discuss the ghost hunt. Like, well, a little bit we did, but not anything that we knew we wanted to talk about on the podcast. Yeah. We wanted it to be fresh. So we didn't discuss anything. We didn't do any research because we didn't have time. We came straight to record. In the end, I think we talked a lot, very, very in detail about what happened last night. Maybe that was too much in the end, and maybe we didn't. We had unanswered questions because we hadn't had the opportunity to like go, oh, actually, let me sense check what we got with dates of when that particular part of the building was built or blah, blah, blah. Like, we didn't get a chance
100%.
to do any of that. So have the ghosts done us a favour? Saved you from an hour and 30 minutes long episode, firstly. Saved Lewis from having to edit it, secondly. And saved us maybe not having answered some questions that we had for ourselves post investigation.
Yeah.
Yes. Was it frustrating? Were we very upset at 2 o'clock this afternoon? Yes. Is the answer.
But it's fine.
It's fine.
We've gone away,
Lewis.
we've reflected, and actually I think we're going to present it a little bit more...
a different approach.
A tad more structured. Still not,
Yeah, a tad more structured, a little bit more of sort of research coming into it. And also producer Lewis has pressed the record button, tested it, done the whole lot. So if it doesn't work this time, if you guys aren't hearing you're never going to know. But yeah, so Gemma, last night, how are you feeling just before we start talking again about what we experienced? How do you feel just overall about how last night went?
Overall, I think I would say beautiful building.
Yes.
Very interesting. I don't think we've been... You probably have because you've done a lot more than me. I've never been to a building with such a variation in energy.
Yeah.
Just because of how...
like the vibes throughout.
How the building's laid out, differences in time periods, things like that. So that was really interesting. I just came away... I feel like we scratched the surface.
Yeah. We'll go into that a little bit in a while.
Yeah.
But there's not enough time. One night is not enough time to really do what you want to do in that building. And I feel like both of us came out of that wishing we had a lot more time in there. I know 3 a.m. came around, and normally I am flagging.
It went so fast.
It went so fast. Normally on a ghost hunt, by 2-3 a.m.
By 1-2ish,
oh my God, like, yeah, I'm so ready to go home. I could have, and you actually said to me as we went back into the base room, I could carry on.
Yeah.
Which, that never happens for me.
No.
And I agreed completely. And yeah, we just didn't have the time to do some of the stuff that we wanted to do for you guys, but also for ourselves, and just in general, like, just make the most of it. So very interesting building. Loved, like, beautiful building, like you say, amazing history. Had a really good time. Genuinely really good time.
Yeah.
Team was great. Other guests were great. But yeah, you'll get a bit more of an idea of where our heads are at, I think, as we go through this. So do we want to explain sort of how the sort of general run of the night went, just to start us off?
You want me to go literally from like start to finish and then say we're going to break it down as we go on?
I mean, yeah, let's just sort of give a run through of the areas that we kind of saw, or like, yeah, how we started the night. Let's just go with how we started the night and the tour that we had.
Yeah,
let's go with that.
So obviously we pull up and it is Halloween night in Nottingham city centre. I don't think either of us realised how central.
I knew it was central. I actually thought it was on a main street, but it's kind of down a side road.
Yeah.
But lesson number one that we have learnt is, if we're doing a Halloween investigation, don't pick a city centre on a Friday night.
Yes.
Because the parties and the noise pollution throughout the evening from not only fireworks, because those of you that aren't from the UK, we have something called Bonfire Night, which is the 5th of November, which I think is Wednesday.
Yeah.
Some Wednesday or Thursday next week. So this weekend we've not only had people out celebrating Halloween because it was on a Friday night, also Bonfire Night, so a lot of fireworks.
Yeah.
So lesson one learnt not to do a ghost hunt again in like a central or like an area with people. I think that's our learnings number one.
Learning number one.
But it was fun walking through to the galleries and seeing everyone's costumes. That was fun.
Some were amazing.
Some were great.
Amazing. So yeah, we arrive. It's quite a hub of activity. I think you could feel everyone was sort of excited, ready to go.
Yeah, the vibe was good.
Yeah. The veil was thin.
Yes.
Everyone wanted to get cracking.
The veil was thin. Gemma had yo sushi. She was happy.
I was
buzzing.
I was buzzing. So yeah, we go in for our. We're showed where the base room for the evening's going to be. All the guests are sat down. That's when we sort of realise the scale of the event. I think there was definitely more stupid, and that's my own naivety. There was more people there than I thought there was going to be.
There was less people than I expected.
Interesting.
So, but then having myself worked the paranormal event,
she's done the circuit
myself, and being my old team, we were one of the teams that took bare minimum and just scraped through the costs.
Yeah.
This is understandably a business, so they do take a lot more people. I thought there'd maybe be about 50-55 people. I think there was 40 or maybe 42, because I think 2 people arrived late.
Yes.
But yeah, so there was a lot of people. One person arrived late and we were having a giggle about it. Gemma's just giggling at me.
I'm not going to say the lady's name, but bless her.
It didn't sound like a real person.
She had an alliterative name, so literally sounded like a Cluedo character. So the first hashtag of the night was, where is
blah, blah, blah.
So-and-so.
Yeah, and that wasn't even us. That was one of the guests that started that.
Like, has anyone seen her?
Bless her soul.
Oh.
But yeah, so I expected that.
You expected that?
Yeah, I do think it was a little too many. I think with a small amount less people, I think that may have been a little more manageable throughout some of the areas of the night, which we'll have a little chat about in a bit.
Yeah. So obviously we run through P's and Q's, all that good stuff. Cheri has found where the tea is, so she's happy. And we are split down the middle.
Not only did I find where the tea was, I sat next to the tea urn.
She located herself next to the tea caddy.
For where the tea was positioned, and that was my spot for the night.
It was your spot. So we were split evenly down the middle. The first group went straight into it.
Yeah, straight into a vigil.
Straight into a vigil in an allocated room. And we were led by the top dog, I'm going to say.
The lead investigator.
The lead investigator of the team. Just for a general tour of the entire building as a whole. So we go down the stairs of the base room. Cheri immediately clocks that there is a security guard sat in the foyer of the entrance where we came in, and she immediately said, like, we need to talk to that guy.
I want to interview him.
Yes.
I didn't interview him on recording, unfortunately, for you guys. I think we're not quite there yet to be that cheeky to ask that, but yeah, I was like, I'm talking to the security guard.
We had a little word. So yeah, go past there and straight into the
large courtroom.
The large courtroom, I'm going to call it, yeah.
Yeah. So the large courtroom, so I say obviously, but I don't know whether it is obvious to people. When you see like videos and stuff from inside court, and the defendant that comes into the box, or the dock, they kind of just appear. The way that old school British courtrooms were built is you literally appear out of the ground. There are stairs inside the docks, so they lead directly to the cells. So they will bring you out of a cell underground, like underneath the courtroom, and bring you up to the dock, and then you go back from the dock back down to your cell. You don't even get to go outside to come into the court.
No.
Like you're in there, and that's that.
Yeah.
So our access to the rest of the building was through that large courtroom, and then suddenly, like, just down the stairs, I'm immediately singing the Phantom of the Opera, keep your hand at the level of your eye, and Gemma's the only one that understood the reference, and I was like, heathens, the lot of you.
Uncultured slangs.
Uncultured. But yeah, so you then go down into the depths, and like the cold, like...
Oh, the temperature difference.
Temperature difference. I don't think it was cold necessarily, because I wasn't cold throughout the night, but the temperature difference hits you immediately as soon as you open those doors.
It is like a different world. It's strange, isn't it, really?
It is, yeah. And one thing that Gemma and I were talking about was, and you alluded to it shortly a moment ago, around the difference in the different areas, but that's architecturally or like time frame wise as well, because like the foyer is kind of like a different period to the courtroom, and then underneath the courtroom is like the old school medieval cells, and it's like carved out of the walls, and like you go through like almost like time portals, don't you, as you go through different areas. That's
a really good analogy. Yeah.
And it is very strange. So like as soon as you go under that really grand, really beautifully structured courtroom, you're then down into the dank, like cold.
You've literally zoomed back like 500 years.
Yeah, straight down into the dungeons.
The dungeons. So yeah, straight down into the dungeon. Also into literally down into the like beneath the dungeons.
Yes.
Are the caves.
Yes.
So
the pits, they call them.
The pits, yeah.
Yeah.
So you think you can't go down any further,
and then
they're like, down these stairs. You know, you can feel the damp.
Yeah.
You can't stand up straight, and we're not tall.
You walked past it, and I was like, Gemma!
Yeah.
And there was like big white fungus like growing up one of the walls.
Yeah.
Like it was that like damp down there.
Like dirt floors. They've just had to put metal grates over missing bits of ground.
A little bit
in parts.
Scary. But over the Oubliette plot twist.
Yes,
we saw the Oubliette, guys.
See the Oubliette. We were brave. We literally stuck our face in the grate, didn't we?
I did stick I was like with my torch down there, like, oh, what's down there then? Like,
I can
really excited.
I like how they, unless they've changed it since then, but like,
how do people get down there?
How people fit down there?
Yeah, well, the guy,
it was literally just like it was like a pipe hole.
Yeah, the guy was saying that, like, so Oubliette, he explained it, and it reminded me of a memory, it unlocked a memory, that Oubliette basically means that, like, the forgotten or to be forgotten.
Yeah.
So basically you get put in there to be forgotten about. And he was saying, like, they didn't even bother removing the bodies. So
no, just on top of one
they would
another.
chuck somebody down there and then, like, forget about you, and then just chuck another person down there, like the rotting bodies that would like pile up down there. I can't imagine how they even got them out.
Could you imagine the smell?
Yeah, disgusting. And there was a chapel down there as well, so like, just grim.
So that was nice. And then you sort of, And then we worked in like a strange loop. So if you imagine we've gone down into the 7 layers of hell, 2 levels up to the right, then you go into the women's bit.
Yes.
You kind of climb out of the caves and then take a sharp right, and then you're in the women's area, which was a lot smaller. Had a very different vibe. Don't know whether that was just subconscious of me or...
Yeah, the time frame on that was, again, it was like another... I think a lot of it was built similarly, and I don't know whether... And I was saying this again to Gemma earlier, like off pod, that I don't know whether they've done refits or, refurbishments throughout time.
They definitely replastered bits, because in the women's bit they seem to have done more of it to do an exhibition. Whereas...
Yeah, there was an art exhibition down there, which we were like, what is happening? There was like faces drawn on the walls, but like nice, pretty faces drawn on walls. But it was a very odd vibe. Like, you just go through all these different, and then you go out into the courtyard. Like, after you go there, like all the laundry and everything is in the women's side, which typical. They put the women to work. Obviously, there was no laundry in the men's side. No, it was the women. And me and Gemma found a chalkboard and may have written Hot Girl Stomps Paranormal Podcast on the chalkboard and left it. Never to be seen again, because we'd never ended up going back in that area afterwards, which
we'll get onto that.
We'll get onto. But yeah, then we ended up going out to the courtyards, which is where they would have the gallows, which Gemma had alluded to in part 1. So we did get to see where those, the joists in the walls were for the gallows, which was really interesting. And then there was something called the debtors' cells, or the dark cells, as they called them. And for me, and I haven't been able to find really, there's not a lot of information on which parts of the building were built when. But that, at least the inside of that, felt very Victorian. Like, it hasn't been touched in years. It was very brick, brick inside, and very cold and dark and dank. But it felt almost like maybe that had been like refurbed to like Victorian standards maybe down there. So very odd, like the medieval bit, where the Oubliette was, that definitely hasn't been refurbished ever since the building was built.
No.
Versus where we go a little bit later, which wasn't part of the tour, which we will discuss, was like the youth cells area, which we know was built in the Victorian times, but that's been modernised to like what you would expect the police cells to look like today. So I don't know whether that's like throws the vibe off, like when you're moving between those areas, whether that has like an effect on like what spirits you get and stuff in those zones. But yeah, it was a very interesting tour. To be sure.
So we sort of got a feel for the building as a whole, and then went straight into, did a swap over and went straight into our first vigil, back from where the group originally came, and that was the small courtroom. So that was our first encounter with the smaller courtroom. Going into
that wasn't part
vigil.
of the tour. No, I guess because the other group
were in there,
so
we've not been able to go in prior to that. So we were just chucked in at the deep end with that one.
Yes,
just sort of go in this room and connect with spirit.
Yes,
so we did that, and that was an interesting one. Again, very different vibe to the large courtroom, which is grander, loftier. Even when you whisper in there, it echoes everywhere, so you're just hearing what everyone's thinking about it. The smaller one was a little bit more... It was
a little bit easier, I think, to control that area.
Yeah.
There was 12 of us, I think, in our group. Like in our little split off group that we went into.
Well, no,
because it was the larger group at the time, wasn't it? Yeah. So we they had like equipment dotted around. Me and you went to, I was like, you go where you're drawn to, Gemma. So Gemma takes us to the other side, away from everybody, naturally.
I don't want to be near people.
No, that's fair. So me and you were the only 2 people that were sat over that side, weren't we?
Yeah.
And we obviously weren't talking to each other during this point, because there's a vigil going on, and the investigator is talking mostly. But afterwards, it seems like we both had the same kind of feeling about the space. Like when we talked about it afterwards, we were both drawn to the balcony. So the galleries, obviously the galleries of justice, the galleries themselves, which are the balconies that overlook the courtrooms, didn't feel negative, didn't feel positive even necessarily.
No,
just very neutral. But definitely there was something that you felt was watching you. Maybe from an inquisitive point of view, I felt a specific spot over in one of the corners of the balcony that I was just kind of looking, like keeping my eye on. But it did feel that there was something that was just watching us with no, I guess, intent, really.
Yeah.
Which when we went in there later, during our free time, that vibe had gone. There was no vibe. Not really anything happened, though, within that space.
Not in the vigil, no. I think there was one sense that went off, wasn't it? Was it the temperature one?
I think it was the temperature and the vibration. Both of them went off on the table, which there wasn't anybody around. But I'm always a little bit... unless it goes off more than once, unless it goes off in some kind of pattern that is recognisable with what you're asking, I always kind of am a little bit dubious of equipment.
Pinch of salt, yeah.
I did make Gemma laugh. I did make Gemma and the investigator laugh, actually, because I heard what sounded like a whistle, but it was when you're specifically only breathing through your nose, like when your mouth is closed and you're breathing through your nose, and like maybe you've got a bit of a cold and you've kind of got that whistle noise that comes out of your nose. But the way that I worded it, I think, just confused everybody, because I just said, is anybody breathing through their nose? And the guy went, I don't know, is anybody breathing? And I was like, no, I don't mean it like that.
I don't mean to freak you all out, but is anybody breathing?
But yeah, I meant that, but I never got a definitive answer to that, because I think everyone just laughed it off.
Everyone just ignored you.
Yeah.
Like, that woman's insane.
Yeah, but like, I mean, if that was actually a spirit that was whistling, oh well.
Yeah, we
there goes
that.
There goes that. So yeah, so we moved on from there, and we went down for our second vigil, which was into what I mentioned earlier, the youth.
No, the large courtroom.
We did. I forget this every time. You're correct. I apologise.
I think because nothing of massive consequence happened.
Yeah. I just think it was forgettable, but yeah.
So we went from the small courtroom to the large courtroom, and again, so now we've been split into even smaller groups, like four different groups.
Yeah, and that's when we were a group of 12.
Yes, and that's when the groups were condensed a little bit into 12, and we went into the large courtroom. The 12 got split into 6. We were placed towards the back end of the room, so the room opposite the judge's chair, I guess, if you can try and visualise. We were back in sort of like the more collective pews behind the dock wall. Basically.
Yeah, it was like I would imagine that what would have happened within that first section would be the people who are part of the actual proceeding. So witnesses would sit in there, the family of the people on trial.
We were more in the spectators.
We were in the spectators bit
staff.
at the back. Yeah, potentially. Or like, you know, because they open up spaces, don't they, for like a few people, members of the public to come and watch. So I think we were in that little bit. And then the balcony was like up behind us and like to each side. That group went off. I assume they were also doing a Ouija board. I don't know what they were doing. Maybe they were table
because we didn't get to swap or anything
like
that, did we?
I have no idea what they were doing over there. We could hear them because they were quite loud.
Yeah.
And then you guys got put on the Ouija board. I don't partake. It's very, very rare for me to partake in a Ouija board, not because I'm afraid, because I don't trust people, because I don't trust people's like psychological responses to it. I just prefer to observe. So I went and sat at the back. I purposefully kind of just went to sit at the back, kind of get a feel for the room, kind of maybe just observe what was going on, see if I could hear anything at the back, put like a couple of my pieces of my equipment out. It did make me laugh though, because when I said to the guy, I was like, oh, you know, I don't really believe in the Ouija boards. And then about a couple of minutes later, I asked him, oh, are you okay if I get my equipment out? And one girl laughed and was like, oh, you don't believe in Ouija boards, but you've got equipment. And I was like, I know she was joking.
Yeah.
But I was like, very different things. I can't influence. I'm not physically touching my equipment. Whereas there's 5 people touching that Ouija board with proven psychological, things that can make that move that we don't even know about, the ideomotor motor effect and stuff like that. Like, very different for you to be laughing at. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't take it like personally or anything, but yeah, it was just a little like off the cuff comment that kind of took me by surprise in the moment, so I just didn't respond. But yeah,
classic.
I just went and sat at the back and kind of listened to what was going on with you guys. The one thing that I did kind of experience, and I don't know if I experienced it, and this is going to bring us on to my main point with my main criticism, not of the team or the guests, just of ghost hunting. There was a lot of noise going on, a lot of noise pollution.
A lot of noise.
Because there was too many people, but also because the courtroom is just a big room with lots of wood. So it all bounces off. It's very echoey.
I can imagine it's a beautiful place to sit and listen to a concert.
Oh my God, wonderful. I would love it. I even said to you, didn't I? Like, it feels like there should be an organ behind the wall. Like, it was that kind of grandeur. The problem with that is I thought I heard footsteps behind me. But then somebody up the top end, like, walked around, and again, it sounded like there were footsteps behind me. And I didn't notice whether or not anybody had moved that first time, so I had to write it off. It could have been that there was a spirit behind me that was walking around. Can I prove that? Can I take that as any viable, evidence? No. So that was really disappointing. But that was the only thing that I got. But then obviously yourself with the other team members.
I am there on the Ouija board. Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
And to be fair, I'm not even that I'm not too far removed from your line of thinking.
Yeah. You gave it a go.
I gave it a go.
You gave it a go.
I know full well I can't take anything that came off the board as proof. I'm sure, I'm 100% positive no one on that board would purposefully start trying to spell out like death or to try and get a reaction. I don't think anyone's going to do that, but subconsciously,
absolutely,
I just can't. You can't write that.
But you
off.
can make things fit as well.
100%.
And this brings me to my other point with this: is you and I obviously did a small amount of research prior to going into this location. Tried not to do too much, but obviously we had this specific thing in mind. So Gemma's having some technical problems over here with the TV has just turned itself up. We have
Genuine has just turned itself
we're
off.
We're very ADHD, so we have to have a timer. We've mentioned this in previous episodes. And the computer just decided no timer.
No timer for you.
I think we're not destined to make this episode.
This is not going to be released.
This is just an omen.
George has come home with us.
George has come home with us
and doesn't want this
to happen. But yeah, on the subject of George. As I was saying.
So yeah, I'm on the Ouija board, skeptical but participating, trying to at least so then I know in myself one person on that board. My finger was like barely touching that glass. It was moving about, but whatever. So the only really notable things to come out of it was we did keep consistently getting GJH, which the spirit or whatever we were talking to seemed to validate when we asked it that they were initials of some kind. And then it also, and again, these are all learning points. It did also spell out PC and then like a 4-digit number.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I should have written that down, and then we could have tried to see.
I feel like it was PC 1708 or something like that. Yeah.
So really, we should have done our due diligence and seen whether that was an inmate number or a staff member number.
Yeah.
That corresponded with those initials.
Yeah.
But lesson learnt.
My issue with the information that came over, and this is what I was kind of alluding to before the weird technical error occurred. You and I didn't do a lot of research on purpose. Some people come into these ghost hunts, as is their right, with full knowledge of everything, or they might know the venue, but they might have also done a load of research into the history of the building. In our previous episode, we got the name George Joseph Smith, who was the bathtub murderer guy. That became a really prominent part of our investigation our conversations with this George, not led by you and I, led by other guests, which was just coincidental more than anything.
Interesting.
At the time, I was getting my names mixed up, so I'd written it off in my head because I got it mixed up with Thomas Gray, who was the guy who killed the girl and died on Halloween and that. Yeah. So I was like, they've got the wrong person. It's not the same guy. It is actually. So that was on me. I never vocalised that, but I was like in my head the whole time I was poo-pooing it. Like, no, you got the wrong name. They had got the right name. The problem I've got with that is, could they have accidentally planted that seed in their head, because the board didn't ever come out with anything to do with the bathtub murders or you killed your wives. No. Someone just came out with it like, oh yeah, George, did you kill your wife, you woman killer? So they obviously attributed the name George to this person. They must have had prior knowledge of this. This is where I get skeptical. Not that they're doing anything on purpose, but that there is something unconsciously that they are making stuff
you
fit.
Want stuff to...
Yeah.
You want... stuff to be happening, so you want to validate it.
And this George person kind of followed us throughout the night. He became really prominent in all of our vigils then.
The group at the front of the courtroom,
also,
as you very rightly pointed out, were being... And again, I want to stress, this is not a criticism, but I'm just saying this is what, unfortunately, when me and Cheri are trying to particularly achieve what we're trying to achieve, gets difficult, because they're doing whatever they're doing, and to be honest, all we can hear is them shouting.
But then when they come out with the name George,
come through George,
subconsciously or consciously,
is
then
that affecting what we're getting?
Our group,
because it's just
with a name. So but then they were convinced there's two Georges, and it's like, you've come to that conclusion, I think, because they were getting a George and you were getting a George, and maybe it couldn't possibly be one person talking to both groups.
Probably. I don't know, it depends what you're...
Getting his exercise in, running between boards. Push that one.
I don't think the laws of physics necessarily apply to ghosts, but that's just my...
You can just zap there and zap there.
Yeah.
But so that was... that. They have every right to investigate how they want.
Yeah.
We have every right to investigate how we want. I think our learning, and you'll find this as we talk about the rest of the evening, is... maybe these big group events aren't going to be working for what we're trying to achieve as a podcast. Great for getting into these locations, because sometimes this is the only way we can get into these big buildings, is to go with a group that's pre-organised, and we have to do as they're led. That, you know, respect their working practice. This is what we've paid for. We've signed up for this. We are going to respectfully go along with the vigils that they put on for us, and we were very respectful of that. And we had a great time. It was a great night, and we met some cool people and had a giggle with a couple of people, and it was really nice. But the evidence is very hard to get when there are other people that are influencing it. Yeah, is going to be a theme. Plot twist. Going to be a theme of the night for this.
Spoiler alert.
So that's when, my bad, we then went into the youth cells. My apologies, getting it mixed up.
So we've done the Ouija board, and then we are led to, which we were excited about, because the event organisers had explained that this area has actually not really been touched by paranormal groups for quite some time.
5 to 8 years. They weren't sure on the time frame, but it's used. I think it's part of the museum.
Yeah,
but there's a sensitive exhibit in there, which means that...
which has, like, live, up-to-date information.
Yeah, of people who are still alive that are to do with crimes and stuff. So we weren't allowed to take any photographs in there, and we had to be accompanied in there at all times if we were to go in there. So we did a vigil to start off with. Gemma felt a bit of woo-woo in one of the rooms,
which was interesting, because I think if you're following this bouncing ball, so the youth cells are the most modern part of the building. The floor is resined. It's all fresh plaster.
It's very modern. It's like walking modern, into a normal precinct,
like a normal, how you would imagine. Exactly. A police.
It just looks like a police precinct.
Blue plastic chair. You can literally imagine the exact chairs I'm talking about.
Yeah. Doctor's office chairs,
Doctor's office chairs, plasma TV screens on the walls. So not compared to the other aesthetics of the building.
A very different vibe.
But I would argue the one we felt we got the most from, interestingly enough.
Yeah. That and the very end of the night, the very, very end of the night were the two key areas for me, which we will obviously plot twist. Woohoo. But so Gemma's walking through, like we buggered off. As always, everyone else goes off some way, and we're like, I'll have a look down here first. So we're trailing at the back. So we're the last ones to go through, as always. It's always me. So we're like going through there last, and you just go, ooh, as soon as you walk in, like an ooh vibe. To which we were like, interesting. And then you go in, and it's like, it's an indoor area, but it's called like the exercise yard, but it was all indoors, which was very odd. And it was basically just a really long, narrow cobblestone passage, wasn't it, with like some exhibits in, and a bench, and we all sat
along a long small bench.
And And there was some equipment laid out on the floor. Like there was, I think, a couple of cat balls, some K2s, some bits and bobs, which no one paid any interest in whatsoever. No. We just did an S-Desk method, which I thought was interesting. I love an S-Desk. For those of you that don't know what an S-Desk is, if you know what a spirit box is, normally you do a spirit box session. It's white noise or radio stations as it goes through. You call out to it and everyone listens in at the same time and you get those responses. An S-Desk is basically you just put sound cancelling headphones on and only that person can hear it, and they just read out or say out loud what they're getting, but they can't hear what the trigger questions are. So it just adds that little layer of control to it. It's not foolproof by any means, but it just adds that little bit of extra to it. And I have had way more success with S-Desk. Way more success than with a normal spirit box session. You'd never done it, so no. you partook for your first time.
I did. I volunteered.
A young girl that we'd went first. Hers, she got a lot more.
She was jibber jabbering.
The
ghosts were talking to her. They didn't like me.
George
so much.
Came back.
George was there.
George was saying things like, "Pretty girls, I want one," and it was like, okay, fair enough. I want a penny, and it's like, don't we all? We all want some cash, my friend. Money. So it did make sense what she was coming out with. Then you had a go, and it was a bit quiet at the start.
Yeah.
But you obviously had no context for what we were asking. You didn't know anything that was going on around you.
I can confirm that for me, because I'm not convinced my hearing's the best at times, once I put those headphones on, considering, like I say, if you can sort of imagine a group of 12 sort of squished on, like in year 6 in the back of assembly, squished like sardines on one long bench, considering Cheri was next to me, I obviously could feel when you were talking, because like your body would vibrate.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird, but I could tell, but it was like I was 6 feet underwater. So you were all just an indetectable babble.
Yeah. You had no idea whatsoever what was being asked.
It wasn't white noise that was playing through my headphones. It was literally just
radio stations.
Microseconds of radio stations flicking through at 30 times speed. It was quite disorienting because she didn't warn me what they were using, whether it was white noise or not.
Right.
So I was a bit like, it took me a minute to acclimatise, I think, which maybe that had an effect on
why it was so slow at the beginning.
I took a minute to sort of say anything of note.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because you and I had, obviously, we've previously recorded this episode, so we did discuss this a little bit around, is it that one person is more susceptible to a communication with a certain spirit, which is why that lady got a lot from the get-go and you didn't get as much, and you had to build your rapport with that spirit? Or was it that she just was able to pick out, or wasn't as selective with words, whereas you were waiting for a really clear, obvious word?
I was incredibly intentional. I definitely got more words spoken to me than I said.
Right.
But I was not going to say anything unless I was 99% sure
that it wasn't a radio station.
I was saying
and
what
it was
I'd
a word.
Heard.
Yeah. Well, for you, with no context, like obviously when you took the headset off, you were like, that was just a load of gobbledygook to me. Like none of that made any sense. And that is exactly how it is. Like I've done S-Desk methods like at my paranormal project, like, you know, my Haunted Road Trip, their sites, I've done S-Desk methods there. It is genuinely like none of it makes sense to you.
No.
At all, what you're saying, like what you're getting come through. Like I took my headset off once after an S-Desk method, and both the people in the room were staring at me, and I was like, what? And they were like, that was incredible. And I was like, I was just saying words, and that is how it feels. So it really is not a case of you're trying to influence what's coming out, because it makes no bloody sense.
No.
But to everyone else who are asking the questions, it does. So for you, what I remember you saying, it was you were getting George, because you did actually say the word
did say George. Yeah.
And we were asking, like, you know, is it just you? You know, who are you? Me. You'd say me, and then all of a sudden it went him. And then the vibe changed straight away, and I felt like I'd been like doused in cold water. Like my whole body was like head to toe pins and needles, which supposedly is supposed to be a sign of like spirit being in communication with you. And then like it just felt vibey, like vibe was different, and we started to hear noises in the corner that we weren't hearing previously. like a coin being put down, like a piece of metal being put down on like a piece of wood, like a really specific noise. Me and the guy next to me very much felt the vibe was like a prison officer. Not negative, still, again, not really negative, but stern.
A more serious
tone. Yeah. Not scared, not like we were going to be harmed, but stern. Like, and then you closed it out with, "I'm watching you." And it was like everything just made sense. We absolutely could be making that fit psychologically.
Yeah,
I get it. But it was very interesting. It was just, it was an interesting, and even you came out with the word interesting at the end.
Did I?
Yeah. We were like, okay, well, that was very interesting, and you went, interesting. It was
like I was taking the mic.
Yeah. No, but I think he was agreeing. If we were really talking to if we were really talking to this prison officer, I think he was interested in what we were doing, and he was like, "I'm watching you," because maybe he didn't know whether we were up to no good.
I managed to say one full sentence as well, didn't I?
I can't remember
the place.
Oh yeah, because I was like, "Are you in the corner?" And you said, "In the place," and I was like, "Huh." So yeah, that was very interesting. But then we had to move on from there, and we went to our fourth vigil, which was the women's cells.
No, we had a break. A break.
Yes. Do you know what? Gemma's got the running order.
Thank God I've written this all down.
Because I can't remember
You
anything.
are all over the place.
This is ADHD. I'm going to blame it every episode on ADHD. Yes. So then we had a break, which we didn't actually get a break. We just got straight into free time, which was not enough time.
No. We had an hour and a half.
About an hour and a half. To go everywhere. Bear in mind how many places there are. Because like when we went around the courtroom, the courtyard, we actually asked one of the team members, "Where's the best place do you think that we should go?" Yeah. And he said the dark cells, the debtor cells and dark cells. We never made it there. Nope, not at all. We knew we wanted to go back to where we'd just done the vigil in the juvenile area. Yep. We knew we wanted to go back there because you wanted to explore that area that you had a vibe from. Mm-hmm. And we knew we wanted to go back to the small courtroom because those are the two areas that we had some stuff. And we knew we wanted to speak to the security guard. We got three of those things done, but we didn't get to go literally anywhere else. I wanted to go down to the Oubliette. I wanted to do like so much that we just didn't have time to do.
No.
Didn't get to call out for any, of the spirits of the people that we mentioned in episode 1. No. We would have called out for, plot twist, we did find Marianne Parsons. Yeah. We found a plaque for her. But we didn't get to call out for, Thomas Gray or anyone that we said we wanted to.
I did try and say Mary.
Yeah,
when we went
you
back.
did.
I did try, but we'll get back onto that.
But in our heads when we were going into this, we were like, let's do some EVP sessions and like get you guys some stuff.
Some solid
stuff. We did not. But yeah, so we did get to speak to the security guard though.
We did. Alan.
We don't know his name. We both agreed he looked like an Alan, so we're referring to him from this day forth as Alan. Alan the security guard.
God bless Alan.
So I make it a point every time I go anywhere haunted, if there's like staff that are not part of the paranormal event, I want to speak to them. Because in my head, they're the people that are going to know. Yeah. So I went up to him and I interrupted his film and I was like, this is going to go one of two ways. He's going to hate us or he's going to be really nice. And he was lovely.
He was lovely.
So he was like, I don't believe in ghosts, but let me tell you some of the stuff I've seen here. And he just kind of took us on a little bit of a walk around, didn't he, really, to like some of the areas, like main courtroom. I saw a shadow in here. The foyer, which I'm actually going to come to in a minute because I've done some research after this conversation. The foyer, he has seen the spirit of a woman like patrolling the balcony, and has very much felt that he gets watched like when he's in there a lot of the time. And he said, I'm paid as a static guard. I am not leaving this reception. I will put my earphones in, pretend that nothing is happening, and pay no attention to the outside world because I don't think he wants to witness stuff.
Yeah.
Which it always
when
makes
you're
me
in
laugh.
That on your own.
Yeah.
It's fair.
And he was going to be there from like 3 a.m. when we left till 9 a.m.
Yeah.
on his own overnight, which fair bloody play to you, mate. But yeah, he was lovely. So that got me thinking about the foyer. My God, why this ghost hunting team doesn't do vigils in the foyer. It's, to me, just in my brief research into what the actual ghosts are in this place, they're all in the bloody foyer. Like, I don't know why we didn't spend more time, like, sat in there.
Yeah.
So the ghost of the lady, I think, is really interesting because he specifically said, like, up on the balcony. Mm-hmm. And those balconies lead to the 2 gallery viewing areas for the big and the small courtroom. So there was the ghost, or is a ghost, of an old lady who has been seen in the reception area. There is the ghost of a suffragette, which is really specific. I don't know whether they know she is because of what she's wearing and a sash, maybe.
Yeah.
Whether they've attributed it to a suffragette, I don't know. But she's said to glide along the balconies, in the foyer specifically. Also, a lady with a pram has been seen. The cleaners refuse to clean in the foyer alone. There is a little girl spirit on the stairs that I think mean the stairs up to our base room, because apparently she's also been seen in the grand jury room, which was our base room.
Oh, okay.
So that leads just off from the foyer.
That makes sense then, yeah.
A Victorian man in fine clothes has been seen in the entrance hall. The ghost of a soldier has been spotted in the entrance hall. So I don't know what's going on in that foyer, but why we're not focusing our ghost hunting adventures in that area.
Do you think it's just too... I don't know. I suppose for the free time, there's no way you could have done a credible...
Oh, no.
You can
but if they had
everything
done a vigil...
Of us all, you mean?
Where you get half your group, or like one of your groups, as you split everyone up, like... People go down into the dungeons, you're far, far away.
That's
someone
true.
goes out to the dark cells, for example, which is far, far away.
Yeah. And then
someone goes
in
into maybe the large, the small courtroom, which is like back
a
that
bit more
way.
removed, yeah.
And then you stay in the little court. Like, you could do it, potentially.
Good.
But yeah, I just found it to be incredibly interesting. So... That was just the foyer, and he then like walked with us to the smaller
courtroom, which was where we thought we were heading anyway.
Yeah, just because we knew we wanted to go and have a look in that area and just see if we could get anything, maybe do an EVP session. When we went in there with him originally, there was loads of people in there who just happened to leave as we went there with Alan. So he left us, he went back to his desk, and me and you went in, and we were the only 2 people in there. And I'm going to play you a clip just as this is what we were contending with kind of like vibe, because we got ourselves settled, we were fully ready to sit and do some EVP sessions, but then people just move through all the areas, like noisily move through, come in, just like, it's a frustration. Absolutely, they've got every right to come in. They have paid the same money as us. It was just a bit frustrating that we just got ourselves all nice and settled and then people came in. So I'm just going to play it just so you can kind of hear, I suppose, just a little bit of kind of what we contended with.
Hello, listeners. Hello, Hot Girl Stomps here, live from the Galleries of Justice small courtroom.
It is currently 00:57 and we are on our own at the moment.
We sure are. It's been interesting.
It has
so
been
far.
interesting.
We just had a chat with the security guard, which we'll tell you more about during the actual podcast recording.
Plot twist, we've told you about it.
I think there's people coming in.
You will have to mind the behind noise. We're not obviously alone, but might just leave you sat here with us while we do some
hearing it back.
Out.
Yes,
I've got
so loud.
Yeah, so literally that was 42 seconds. We had been alone in that room for 42 seconds before we were interrupted.
Disturbed, yeah.
Because people just move around all the time. And it was fine. Like, we had a bit of a joke with them when they came in because they left again. I think they realised, they're trying to do something in here. So they kind of filed back out and I was like, do we smell? And like, we had a little bit of a giggle. And then we got ourselves settled and we started doing a just as you and I started to build a bit of a vibe, like I'd gone and sat in the judge's chair and you were sat in the pews, like kind of almost where like the prosecutors like sit.
Yeah.
And we could see each other across the room. Just as we were starting to feel that the vibe was building in the room, every man and his dog just came in. And I even kind of said, just so you know, like we're doing like a recording session. I got no response. They just filed in and like took their time filing in and like tripping over things and like plonking their bags down really loudly on the benches. And we just gave up in the end. I just got up and left. Like, we just left. Did. Which...
The vibe was
ruined.
Broken,
and like at one point, like after they'd settled down, like I'd started to maybe feel that there was someone next to me, like in the judge's chair, and I expressed this, and I just got nothing. Like, no one was interested.
No.
And it's like, but none of you are speaking either. Like, no one's doing any calling out.
No.
I just felt...
It's like you're expecting... That's not how this works. You're not... Well, I suppose maybe it could, but...
Yeah, I don't know, like...
I don't know.
They had every right to come in there. You know, if they wanted to come and do a vigil in the small courtroom, that's fine. But, you know, we were in there, we'd got ourselves settled. I think it's just the problem with these. It's not anyone's fault. It's not the you know, we know what we paid for. We knew this would be a thing. But I think it's made us realise that this isn't how... If we're going to do any more... specials based on us going out ghost hunting, I think we're going to have to potentially
look at a lot more
private
particular.
hire, which is expensive, or, you know, rely on people letting us come into locations to investigate their locations in order to do this going forward, because I just don't think we're able to do anything viable. Which again, I'll play you a clip in a little bit of another sort of EVP session that we attempted to do. It just got to a point where we were like, we can't do anything viable in any of these areas. So we moved on.
At this point, we've only got 10 minutes left, and we're panicking.
Yeah. 10 minutes left of free time.
So I sort of make a bit of a executive decision, and one of the very kindly investigators had previously said about the area that we had to be escorted in, that apparently we were only going to get one session in. She did kind of mention, you know, if anyone really has strong feelings about coming back,
as long as you're accompanied,
and wants a team member to accompany them back down. So I chanced my arm, ran up to the base room and said, "Can someone please?" And I did it sneakily as well. I was like, "Can someone please take us down to the youth cells again?"
Yeah.
So a team member very kindly led us there. Invited another guest on the corridor down there.
I think as we were going, he was like, "Oh, we're going to here," and there was only one person, but we were like, "Oh, please don't invite everyone because we want to do an EVP session." I think he was going to try and gather a group.
Yeah, we were like, "No,"
but we kind of cut it off. So unfortunately for us, there was one other person that came down who, as we tried to do an EVP session down there, she did talk quite loudly, and it's just, you know. Again, if you know that there's people in a room next door to you that are trying to do an EVP session, I would talk like this, trying to talk to you. And I think she was talking to the team member.
You know, on reflection.
But she was just talking like this volume level, blah, 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 like to the guy.
Yeah.
While we're trying to do it. And I just called out, and I just said, is there and I'm going to play you the clip because you can hear it. I think it's this one.
Could you tell me how old you are?
Shut up.
Exactly. So just as we ask a question, like obviously the way that an EVP session works, really, you want to ask a question, you want to leave dead silence and wait for a response. Just as we ask the question, talking, which again, she has every right in the world to be in her area and doing, but it's more just that etiquette of, if I knew that there was two people who had just said, we really want to do an EVP session, we want it to be quite quiet down there, I wouldn't be blah 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 blah, like at this, I would, you know, I'd try and whisper to the person so that my voice doesn't carry through the building, but that's just me. The one thing that I haven't been able to put an explanation on is the I'm gonna play it. I've left this little bit in at the start so you can hear that we weren't talking.
The hell was that?
I don't know.
Let me play that again.
The hell was that?
I'm just gonna keep replaying it.
The hell was that?
What's your thoughts, Gemma?
So just to give a little bit more context, we didn't play the clips because there was no point, but me and Cheri were calling out in this area, sort of near the exercise mess again, where we'd done the S-Deck stuff and where we felt like there was a slight vibe. When we were calling out, we we felt very much like we could hear footsteps.
Yeah.
But quite like more like either a woman's high heel or a steel cap boot.
It was definitely something
like
that was
click.
clicky, metally,
rather than
clicking.
a drag or anything like that.
Rather than a shuffling footstep.
Rather than a shuffle,
it was a very
distinct,
determined
like,
footstep. Yeah.
Like that almost.
Yeah, it was.
Which unfortunately was too far away for our phones to pick up. But so we were going along with that, and then very kindly when Cheri, I think, what was your previous question? That could you do it a bit louder?
Yes.
And then on that clip, that's when we get...
That was right towards the end as well. So we knew we were on borrowed time. I think we were overstaying our time a little bit, and the guy was obviously waiting for us down at the other end, like at the entrance, because he kind of let us go off. I don't think he was supposed to let us go off, but he did. Which was very kind of him. We weren't doing anything. We were literally just sitting and recording in an empty room. I think he could, because he laughed when I said, because I'd said, I think we need to be getting going now, and I heard him chuckle. So I know he could hear us, but he was just standing waiting for us. So I'd said that, like, I think we need to get going in a second. Can you just do that louder for me? And then it was like that.
And then instead of a footstep, it went, ooh.
Yeah, but it came specifically from over towards where the entrance to the mess corridor, the exercise corridor was. But then we had no time, which is always the way. I find this is always the way. Just as your time is up,
I feel like I say, scratching the surface. Yeah. I feel like we just start to get stuff,
and then move on.
And then right, it's time to move on.
Yeah, so it's really quite frustrating.
It's the game.
That is exactly what we paid for. We know what we paid for, and it is a structured night, and they have to keep a structure because otherwise all hell would break loose. So I completely understand. And I'm sure they're frustrated, as frustrated as us as a team, that they have to move us on when they're getting stuff. But yeah, so we moved on from there. That's the only kind of tangible, real thing that I sort of heard was that. And then we moved to the last two sort of vigil parts of the night. Then, so we went down with that same person who came down to the cells with to the area with us. We went to the ladies' cells. Which again was like table tipping, Ouija board, which I bowed out of. And I was kind of just observing. And George, the name George came back up again.
So
here he comes
George
again.
At this point, yeah.
Gemma was getting aggy at this point. She was like, George, piss off. I'm fed up with you.
Let someone else talk now.
Go away.
Like, you've been following us all night, dear God.
We're in the girls' zone.
Yeah, which is not usual for me. I'm normally quite go with the flow.
Yeah.
But I think because our intention has changed slightly, this night wasn't just about us, and we were trying to get something interesting for you, capture something for you guys. I was starting to get a bit bullshit. I was like, right, George, go away. Like, we're in the women's bit now. Let the girls talk. See if the girls have got an interesting thing to say. They didn't. The glass would literally come to a stop.
Yeah, they didn't. But I don't know where this came from. Whether this came through the board or whether someone just plucked it out of their arse. But basically, they said, is the man stopping you? Is George stopping you, or is are the men stopping you from coming forward? Which, unfortunately, in my experience in locations like this, that usually is the case. Like, there's always a male, really powerful male spirit that stops like the female spirits from coming forward, which such is actual real life, I guess. But we just didn't get anything from any of the women. We didn't even get to go to the laundry. So I'm gonna go through again. I've still got a list of some of the ghosts. So some of the stuff that we would have missed out on, really, with specifically with the laundry rooms area, is that people hear children's cries down there. They hear women's voices down there. Doors slam. Sometimes this is a really specific one, and I don't know whether there's a psychosocial part of this with being in that area. Females feel pain in their stomach that are like, and having never been pregnant myself, you might be able to help me with this. Late stages of labour, there are certain pains that come with like late stages of labour in the stomach, apparently, that a lot of women find that they feel as if they're almost in the late stages of a pregnancy. Not labour, sorry, late stages of their pregnancy, within their stomach.
Yeah.
And apparently there was a worker who died while she was in her late stages of pregnancy down there, and people attribute that to her. And also visitors feel very emotional. I think that's very much a psychological thing, the feeling. We talked about it in episode 1, that maybe we would, if we'd have been able to go down into that area and spend some time, just from an empathy point of view, I think that's where that emotional thing comes in. But that is not unusual for paranormal situations, people to feel that intense emotion. also within the cells, and it doesn't really tell me which ones, the men's or the women's, but people see shadowy figures lurking in dark underground cells. They hear footsteps, cell doors banging, the sound of keys jangling, and there's also been an apparition of a man seen, and people have felt hands touching them as well down in those cells. So very interesting. I did feel that I maybe saw something peek round a corner at one point, but again, I wasn't recording, can't prove that it wasn't my brain or a trick of the light. And we thought that we had some kind of paranormal noise going on, and it turned out that there was a K2 in your bag that we didn't know was there, that was clicking.
My bad.
And everyone was freaking out.
I was so annoyed with myself.
It is what it is. But we debunked it, and it gave us a bit of fun. So it is what it is. But we did get some energy go. So like, I think other people were picking up on my vibe when we started, because I was literally shouting like, I don't care what year you were born. I don't care what your name is. Like, let's get to the juicy stuff. Knock this glass off the table. Knock the table over. Come on. And I think people were like picking up on that. Starting to get rowdy about it.
But we're literally, the glass is doing massive, just nothing intelligible, just doing massive swoops around this table now, because we're all calling him. And then that's when this lady started saying about George being a
woman murderer,
a wife killer.
Yeah,
and me and Cheri exchanged a look
at each other
because we were like, oh, that George,
right? Well, in my head, I was like, she's got the wrong name.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
but she hadn't. It was me. No, I was the problem. It was me. I am the problem. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So, and we did seem to be getting an energetical response as it was. Yeah. And then hashtag theme of the evening.
Just as it's all kicking off.
Just as it's starting to...
Right, let's swap.
Should we swap over then?
Time to move.
It's like, okay.
Yeah. But again, they're structured. They've got time limits. They have to keep to.
I totally get it.
I completely understand. The guy did make me laugh, though, because I didn't go on the boards again, and he was like, okay. Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I just don't want to partake in this. You do know that that's what you booked for. Like, he wasn't being a knob about it. He was genuinely, I think, worried that I was not having a good time or that I'd been missold. And I was like, no, I know what I booked. He's like, okay, as long as you're happy, because I don't want it to be that you feel that you signed up for something that you weren't expecting, because this is planned. And I was like, no, I am an observer. I like to observe. I am absolutely happy, and I love observing, like, other people have paranormal. That's what I enjoy doing.
What you live for.
Yeah, so I was happy.
So I'm just going to literally gloss over this. So we swapped rooms. We went into the condemned cell, which sounds very exciting.
It wasn't.
Nothing. I don't know if just that abrupt break of energy it just killed it.
It did.
We went and tried to do some table tipping. Absolutely nothing except my K2 going off in my bag.
Yeah.
So then we all got excited, like, oh my God, there's not even anything electrical down here. Yeah. It's all stone. Like, what is that? It was me.
Let down.
It was me.
But nothing to note really, particularly.
Nothing from there.
And then we had to go to our final destination.
The cave.
The caves. The caves
I do love that we did that last.
The pits slash the chapel.
The pits of
because that's
hell.
all apparently all one area. So something interesting about there. So, and I don't have any context for how this happened, but apparently one of the phenomena down there is crosses being thrown. Where are they getting the crosses?
There were no crosses when we went.
No.
Unless it was that bad they had to remove the crosses.
I don't know, but apparently crosses got thrown. Apparently they also feel, they hear growls down there, and people get a sickness feeling, which comes into something that one of the ladies did experience down there. But I don't know if that's because it's dark, it's dank, it was uneven floors.
That is a perfectly valid
I'm just not sure
space.
how... And also... just in general, again, the empathy, you've got the Oubliette down there, there's literally pits under there. I don't know how I feel about that, but the very end of the night was just very it all started very slow in this cave area. The guy, the team member down there was wonderful. He was so lovely. I think he was just trying so hard for us to get something, and it just wasn't working.
Nothing.
There was nothing going on.
To look at us in that cave, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's gonna kick off. No.
people at that point, I don't know whether people were just impatient because, you know, we're calling out, come on, you know, can you make a noise? 2 seconds later, come on. And it's like, you've got to give some time. Like me and you, when we were trying to do our EVP sessions, are leaving really long pauses. You said to me, like, I would have been happy just sitting down there in silence for 10 minutes and just get a feel for the space and just, you know, align with it. There was none of that.
No.
We were on a time limit, so I suppose he's trying his best to try and get something going for us, and I can't blame him. But people's stomachs were grumbling away, and people would go, what was that? Oh no, it was my stomach. And it's that age old, you know, there's too many people. There was 12 of us in a well, some people had left by that point. There was like 9 of us in that space by that point, in this tiny little cramped room that you can't stand up in fully because it's the low ceiling. People are, kind of dropping like flies in, I feel sick, I feel hot, but I don't know whether that's just because of the space. You know, we're in the deepest part. So you and I were like, let's go out into the corridor, remove ourselves and just see if, you know, there's anything out in the corridor.
Because the only slight thing, it was a bit like, oh, was that a noise?
Yeah.
But it always sounded, it was not in that cave.
Yeah.
That cave had absolutely
nothing
zilch
going on. Yeah. Supposedly there was supposed to be like a grumpy spirit that liked the blondes, and I was like, oh great, but nothing happened to me. So
no. So we went into a corridor accompanied by another guest who also just sort of came out to see what the sitch was out there. And then at the very end, just frustrating
again, right at the end of the night, just it all starts to kick off before we have to go home.
It was a rumble that I could only describe as a boiler
kicking in.
Off.
When the boiler like gears up, you get that kind of quick like vibration from the boiler, and then like the click of the, like when the flame comes on, and then it kind of like, it was that, but mixed with like a dragging sound,
like metal, and there were grates,
metal grates down there overlooking the pits,
dragging over grates. Yeah.
So we're trying. It got a bit frustrating. Again, I think this is just inexperience of people in these situations mixed with a bit of people are excitable and they want something for themselves, mixed with it's 3:00 in the morning nearly and whatever. People can investigate how they want, I guess, but we're saying we can hear this happening down here. And then in there still, they're still trying hello, is there anybody in here? And I'm like, guy, I'm trying to tell you that
you're getting a response.
We are literally hearing dragging sounds down there, and no one's like, and that seemed to be the theme of the night. You know, when someone says, I'm getting something, no one acknowledges it or does anything with that.
No.
And it's not the team members, it's the other people, like the guests that are just ignoring blatantly this. And it did get a bit frustrating, so to the point that we eventually convinced everyone to come out into the corridor, and I was a couple of
teacher mode almost, like, right,
should we just stop and listen?
Shall we be quiet?
Everyone shush, because we're like, there it is again, and everyone's like da 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 da, like, everyone, let's just listen please, like, to what is happening. And then a few people started to go, oh my God, I can hear that. Yeah. So then we started discussing, okay, that's when it sounds, because I said, it sounds like the boiler. You and him, this other guy, were like, that's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So we're asking the team member, is there anything mechanical? Which obviously he doesn't work for the building. He works for an event company that's hired the building. So his response was, I don't know, but I'll find out. To which he did go and ask, and the answer was no, not that we're aware of. We don't know that for sure, but not that we're aware of. We threw a few ideas around of maybe it's the toilets flushing, or is there pipe work somewhere that's vibrating somewhere else, but it didn't happen at any other point in the night. And that team said, I've never heard that before, other than the one guy said, I did hear something literally last night.
That was when he was completely
alone. Yeah.
So that probably still doesn't track.
Exactly. Yeah. But other than that, they've been doing that location for 15 years, they said, and they've not heard it down there before.
Yeah.
So then me and this guy were like, full on, let's debunk this. So I'd seen
the time has definitely come for everyone to leave, and we're like, no.
The guy's like, come on everyone out, and we're like, hold on a second, because I'd seen this grate that I had originally thought was leading to the outside, because there's pubs outside, and like there was music playing from, like, you could kind of hear not in this particular area we were in, but you could hear it in other areas upstairs. It's just going to be a
barrel, which would have completely fitted.
I thought it led outside, and maybe it was next to one of the pubs or something. When we looked in it properly, we were like, no, that doesn't lead to outside at all. He thought, that's the condemned cell. But when I shone my torch in and kind of stuck my head through the grate, I was like, no, this is the dark cells. The one area that the guy told us is the place to go, the best place to go, that we didn't bloody go to. And that's where this noise was coming from, or where I perceived that this noise was coming from. So I'm like, we were then kicking ourselves. Like, I can't believe we didn't make time to go to the one bloody place that the guy said. And we didn't get to go to the courtyard either because it was pouring with rain. And the security guard, interestingly, told us this really weird story that I forgot to mention earlier
for
about
a
the courtyard.
A very specific story.
So specific, but it rang a bell with me for something I've heard before. And I can't remember where I've heard it, and I'm going to have to look into it. And if I can find information on it, I'm going to have to put it into an episode at a later date. So he said he stood just in the entrance to the courtyard inside, and he could see that it was windy outside. He could see the trees moving. He could hear all the bristling of the trees. He stepped out into the courtyard, and it was like going into a sound vacuum. There was no sound. And then he'd step back, and the sound would come back, and he'd step back into the courtyard and the sound would disappear. And that is such a specific thing for someone to say, who is talking to some girls who are obviously really interested in the paranormal. Like, if he was trying to mess with us, that's too specific of a weird thing.
If he just wanted a little bit of a laugh with us, he could have just said, oh yeah, I've been tapped.
I saw a ghost on the shoulder in the courtyard.
Like all those very generic things we know. But a sound vacuum is very So something very random to pluck off the top of your head.
It is, and I'm now regretting not having gone into the courtyard, because the courtyard itself is obviously where the hangings happened, and it's also where the bodies were buried. So I did do a little bit of research into the courtyard gallows and the dark cells, just to wrap this kind of up, and then we'll go over sort of our general thoughts. So within the courtyard, near the gallows, visitors often experience an oppressive atmosphere with dread, nausea, breathlessness, all things that would be as if they're like reliving those last moments of like a prisoner, like heading to their own death, essentially. People also have smelled rotting corpses and seen dark shadows in the viewing galleries, which is another thing that I forgot to mention, within the actual main courtroom as well. They've smelled rotting corpses up on the balconies, which I think is insane. But then from a dark cells point of view, so I actually found a quote from someone who used to run the ghost tours on behalf of the museum. So she said a few members of a specific group that she was leading around felt as though they were being watched, and this is it, as they go in from the courtyard into the dark cells. One woman felt her arm had been pulled and was so terrified she insisted on staying outside in the exercise yard. I thought it best not to tell her about the bodies that were buried underneath. A man suddenly said he felt a huge pressure around him, so I decided to lead the group outside to the exercise yard because the atmosphere had started to get like really dark, basically. She also said, I've heard everything and seen everything, from dark figures appearing in the exercise yard to a levitating Henry Hoover that terrified the cleaners. So interesting. And then one thing that I couldn't find a specific location for this is apparently there was an old guard who had a whippet, and the ghost of the whippet has been seen and felt brushing past people's legs. But it doesn't say whereabouts that was sort of specifically happening.
That's interesting.
So very... I don't feel we scratched the surface, like you said earlier. There was so much that we, just as we started to get somewhere, time's up.
Yeah.
So I wish that we could afford to hire this place. I don't think it's something we're ever going to be able to do. I think it's like $2,000 to hire private. It's just not something we're going to be able to do. I would love the opportunity one day to be able to go in there with just a small group, so that, like, let's say there's 10 of you or something. 5 of you can go off to one side of the building, so there's no noise pollution possible, and then you just switch over. Or, even if you're all sat in the courtroom, if you're all sat along one pew, just all of you sat along one pew, if you're hearing noises down the other end, even if they're reverberating off the walls, you're all sat in one place, so you know no one's walking around. Things like that. It's that level of control that I just wish that we had the opportunity to have, and to do a bit more with, but it just wasn't to be on a night like this. It was a great night. We had a lot of fun, but couldn't do really what we wanted.
I don't feel like we did the Galleries of Justice, unfortunately, on this occasion. But I think, it's a learning curve, and that's fine. I think this is going to inform stuff that we do going forward, and perhaps we just hadn't... I think, and I'm completely guilty of this, it's very easy to get swept up in, oh, look, a ghost night at the Galleries of Justice on Halloween night. It all sounds very like, oh yeah, stuff's going to happen there. But I think there's something to be said, and I've said this before in other episodes, I'm not, for me, venues that have been investigated,
heavily investigated.
I'm not
the ghost
sure.
Tired.
I think it has an effect on how much the spirits want to engage. Like, oh, let's put a woman in the judge's chair. That will get them riled. No, it won't.
Because a woman sits in the judge's chair every single night of the week. And
they know it doesn't mean... by now, they know it doesn't mean anything. Like, it doesn't...
But do they, though?
I don't know.
Are the spirits aware that this is something that is recurring, or do they reset every night, or whatever? I don't know.
I'm oversimplifying it.
Because there is supposedly a spirit of a judge in one of the courtrooms who does not like that women sit in the judge's chair. But I think that's the big courtroom, whereas I tried it in the small courtroom, which probably wouldn't have done anything. But they did. Apparently, the other group that was in there were hearing banging around the judge's chair in the main courtroom, but we weren't there to witness that.
So I just think we need to take note that our aims have changed from when we used to do these group sessions, and that's perfectly fine. So we just need to be a bit more intentional, selective, and maybe go for the lesser explored path.
Lesser explored, or even if we are going into a place that's a really popular, really active location that does get done a lot by paranormal teams, maybe we just need to think about the number of people and the group size and the location itself with acoustics, because I just think that that's a massive part of what has occurred with us is the acoustics as well. We would love if people have got locations that we can go and explore.
Yeah, if you guys know of anything, or I know exactly where, would be great for that.
And it's not going to break the bank, because me and Gemma can't afford £2,000 to hire a location for a night for a podcast investigation. It's just not possible. So I would love if you have suggestions of places that might be affordable for us to really do a proper investigation that we can feed back to you guys.
Like a basement of a pub, someone that owns a pub, and just we spend the entire night in a basement, even like just anything like that.
Just to be able to have do some controlled experiments would be lovely.
Yeah, 100%.
So really, in reality, we had a great time.
We did have a great time.
The team were fantastic. They were lovely people. They ran the night very professionally, exactly how you would expect a structured paranormal investigation to go. Can't fault them. I think it just wasn't. We've realised after we've gone, through our own fault really, that maybe this wasn't exactly what we need if we're trying to actually get something tangible that we can then feed back to our podcast listeners. It's just not going to happen. But still a great time. Still had a couple of things.
People go.
Oh yeah,
the building is so interesting.
So cool. I'd love to go back again under a different circumstance. But yeah,
100%.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for listening. This is only 1 hour 20 rather than the 1 hour 50 minutes of the last one. And I'm sure there was more that we covered, and we definitely went more in depth in the previously recorded version. We kind of put the world to rights a little bit more, but we wanted to make sure we gave you a bit of like the history of the ghosts now that we aren't being, influenced by it, because we've already been. And it's nice that we've got the context behind, the stories now, because we've been to the location. So at least we could give you guys that, and we can give you a little bit of, the snippet of the things that we have if you end up going, you know, some of the things that we started to get before we were moved on, maybe you could make those your focus areas and you could feed back to us. Maybe you can finish our investigation on those, or go and like debunk some of the things that maybe we experienced, and you can come back to us and let us know. I would love that. And the one sound bit we did get, you know, please try and listen to it on your earphones at like max volume, and then see what you guys think. I mean, we couldn't explain that noise. Yeah, there was no one else down there. They were behind us. Yeah, like, and it was that guy, and I think the girl was stood with him. They'd gone quiet by that point. They were behind us down the corridor, and this came from ahead of us, and it was only a small room, so it wasn't an echo at that point. So yeah, please debunk us. Please go and finish our investigation if you end up going to the Galleries of Justice in Nottingham. Please tell us about any locations that you think that we should investigate, look into, any stories you think we should tell on the podcast. Give us some feedback on this episode. Please remember to comment. One thing we've noticed, getting so many DMs with wonderful, so nice, amazing praise, and it's lighting up our lives. Please comment publicly and promote that. That's all I can ask. If you don't want to be identified, that is fine. Feel free to set up an alias account, or email the email address, so we can snapshot, then we can just share. Yes. But if you just don't want your name attached, that is absolutely fine. But yes, please, utilise help boost our algorithm, get us out there. But thank you for all of the kind comments. Everyone has been immensely kind so far about this podcast, and we love you very, very dearly. And on that note, happy Halloween. Happy Samhain. Happy Samhain. She's got it. And we'll see you next time. See you on the next one, guys. Bye. Bye.